to this tour. So for those of you that are not familiar with BGC, BGC is kind of like, I guess you would call it a neighborhood in Metro Manila, although a lot of Filipinos would say it's in Tuig. I probably said that wrong, like the city of Tuig, but that's all Metro Manila. So I'd say this is like a neighborhood of Metro Manila, but it's like one of the most fancy neighborhoods, like kind of like equivalent to maybe being in Manhattan or Beverly Hills, somewhere like that, but a little bit different. And I'll probably do some more videos about this neighborhood in the future. If you are familiar with BGC, so this is Uptown BGC, and that is Uptown Mall right there and Uptown Parade over there. So you can see I'm in a prime location. We'll back up here and let you see the wall of windows. Ooh, sorry for the coughing. So if you've been watching me for a while, you know I love these condos with walls of windows. I just like the natural light that they give off. And especially if they have a great view. Sometimes I have ocean view, but this one's actually great too because there's a water fountain right there that at night just goes crazy. One of these days I'll have to show you at night. All right, let me back up. This camera's a little bit difficult because I don't have the wide screen like I normally would. But this is a studio, and you guys know I love studio apartments. It doesn't bother me. I like everything in one room. However, it has this door here that I can slide over and completely block out that room from the rest of the apartment if I want to. And I actually do that at night, so the AC just fills this room. This condo does have 2 ACs though. But you'll see we have a little desk there. I kind of have a little setup there for YouTube. And then we have the bed here. It's really nicely decorated. It's probably the nicest decorated condo I've been in since I've been traveling. Even the light fixtures are pretty good, and I'll show you the living room here real quick. So we've got a living room here. I actually moved the couch to this side. The dining room table used to be over here, but there's only one TV in here, and I wanted to be able to watch that TV from the couch. The couch was where the dining room table is, which you're about to see. So there's the dining room table now. I moved it there, and you'll see there's a really cool light fixture in here. So you've got the dining room / living room, and then straight into the bedroom. And then behind me here is the kitchen, which you guys know I don't really cook, so not super important for me. All I care about is one of those tea kettle things and maybe the microwave every now and again. It's got a pretty big refrigerator for Asia. And this storage is all functional. A lot of storage in apartments and condos in Southeast Asia is just not functional. You open them up and there's like stanchions in there and stuff that block you being able to store stuff in there. But these ones are actually functional, which I really appreciate. Again, nice little decorations going on in here. And we'll come over here and you can see the bathroom. So we've got the shower here. Not a lot of bathtubs in Asia, but I don't care. I don't take baths anyway. I take showers. And again, nice decorations. And then behind here, if I went inside the bathroom and opened this door up, there is a washer dryer combo. It's one unit, but it does both, although I hang dry my stuff. So this condo also has a pool, a pretty cool pool. It's huge actually. And I'll do a future video where I show the pool and do a proper apartment tour. And it has a gym, a pretty nice gym. It's got a lot of free weights. And then it has like a game room and some other amenities. The building's also looks really, really new. The lobby is phenomenal. There's always someone at the desk and there's always a security guy down there. And the security here is just insane in my condo and in BGC in general. There are police officers everywhere. I love this neighborhood. Oh, another great thing I missed about this building is in my building, actually right when you walk out of my building, there's an escalator that goes down and it goes underground, and I can walk over to that mall you just saw underground. So if it's pouring down rain, I don't have to walk in the rain. I can just go in that escalator, go down, and when I get to the mall area, I'm in the basement level, but the basement level is, there's a grocery store there, there's a McDonald's, there's a KFC, and like a local French fry place. So I can just walk over there and get groceries, which is amazing, and walk back. Or if I want McDonald's or KFC, I could do that too. Also, I'm on the basement level of the mall, but the top level of the mall is the food court, and they have anything you can think of: Filipino food, Western food, and then all of this surrounding area is full of nothing but restaurants. I've said this on my Instagram stories. This place reminds me of Manhattan, kind of a combination of like Hell's Kitchen, like near Broadway, with the amount of restaurants that are around, but also a little mix of the financial district. So it's kind of a combination of both of those. I'm in Upper BGC where JP Morgan Chase is. It's right there. And so this area is a little bit more financial district. But if I walk about 3 to 5 minutes, I'll be on High Street, which is more like the Upper West Side, and an area called Forbestown, which is also part of BGC. And it's more like the Upper West Side in Manhattan. It's very neighborhoody. There's a million little tiny dogs. Everyone has a dog here. Everyone has a little tiny dog. And there are parks everywhere. High Street is probably a mile long. And it's basically a walk area. It's not really a street. It's an area that has shops on both sides and huge sidewalks. If you've been watching my Instagram story, you know that this whole area has these like 25-foot wide sidewalks. And it's throughout the entire BGC, which I'd say, I don't know the exact diameter, but when I do my morning walk, it's about 3 miles circumference from where I am all around BGC. And it might be a little bit more than that. Maybe I'm missing a little bit of it. But, you know, in that little 3 square mile, 4 square mile area, it is probably 500 restaurants. On High Street, every freaking shop is basically a restaurant. Now they have a bunch of shops too. They have everything you can think of. Uniqlo, Zara, Nike store, Old Navy, a bunch of local like mom and pop places, but also like a Shake Shack and a Pottery Barn. It's crazy how much stuff there is. And it just, I'll be honest with you, it's my favorite place so far. I've only been here a week, but I'm like, I could live here. Like everything is at your fingertips here. Now it's a little bit more expensive. So this condo on Airbnb was $1,400 a month. Now that's Airbnb price. If I rented a similar condo in here, it'd probably be around $700 a month. I have seen them as cheap as $600, but remember that doesn't include utilities and internet. So that'd probably be another $100, $150 a month. So you'd probably be looking at somewhere between $750 and $900 a month to stay in a similar place to mine, maybe not as well decorated. Now I did ask my landlord, hey, if I wanted to rent this myself and just pay you directly, what would you rent it for me, to me, for? And he said $1,200 a month, but that would include everything. So all utilities, which would make it easy for me, and it's nicely decorated. I could get it cheaper. Now, also understand this is the best area in one of the best buildings, if not the best building in BGC. So, well, that's not true because there's like the Shangri-La home studios, which are probably $5,000 a month, but it's one of the best ones in BGC. So you can find other buildings here. There's a building called like the Avalon that you could get into probably for around $400 a month, $500 a month or so, but it's not going to have the floor to ceiling windows. You're going to have a window, maybe you're going to have a view, but it's not going to have the floor to ceiling windows, and it's going to be a little bit more dated, but still very nice and still access to the same neighborhood I'm in. If you went down to Town, which is another area, I'm in Uptown BGC. If you went down to Town, which is part of BGC, and it's a little bit older, but it's also more neighborhoody. I mean, it's really cool. Check out my Instagram stories. And it's like a ton of restaurants too. And it's like this little circle area with a little park in the middle where everyone brings their little tiny dog. And it connects the high street. So you got this little circle area and then like a mile long sidewalk with stores and restaurants on each side for over a mile. It's all walkable. And all the streets, you can just walk across the street, no issues. It's great. But you could probably get into a condo down there for $500 a month. If you're on the other side, which is called McKinley Hill, you could probably find one as cheap as $400 a month. So Roy said you could get something similar in Bangkok for much cheaper. Not really true in the best building in the best neighborhood in Bangkok. Trust me, I've looked. If I want to be in right at Terminal 21 in one of those brand new buildings, it's going to cost me Airbnb. It's going to be $2,000 a month. It's actually going to be more than this. And if I wanted to rent one outright, similar to this with the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Terminal 21, which is what I'm basically doing, overlooking Uptown Mall here, it'd be probably around $1,200 to $1,500 a month. Being in like the SA, or if I was in Tong Lo, if I wanted to be right near the BTS in a walkable area. That's another thing about this area. It is super walkable. I haven't found a place in Bangkok like this, and I stayed at Wisdom Connect, and Wisdom Connect is nothing like this. It's great. Like Wisdom 101 area is great. It's really cool, live, work, play, but it's nothing like this. This is like Wisdom Connect times 100 in size and variety. So I would say you're right. You can find similar places like this in Bangkok, but you ain't gonna be in this type of neighborhood in Bangkok. You're gonna either be way outside the city, or you're going to be away from the train, or you're not gonna be in as walkable of a neighborhood. To be in a neighborhood like this in Bangkok, minimum $1,000 a month in a building like this, but probably more. If you're in something like the SA right next to Terminal 21, it's probably going to be $1,500 a month. So I keep getting that comment a lot where people are saying, oh, you could get the exact same thing in Bangkok for half the price. Not in a neighborhood like this. Trust me, I have looked. And I mean, an Airbnb in Bangkok with the similar floor-to-ceiling windows next to Terminal 21 in a state-of-the-art building with a pool and a gym in like in the SA, $2,000 minimum, $2,000 minimum Airbnb, and they're probably going to make me pay utilities because they do that in Thailand a lot. So I disagree with you, Roy, unless you're I disagree with you unless you're saying location doesn't matter. But then I could say, well, I could go anywhere in the Philippines and match what you can get in Bangkok. And I'm not dogging Bangkok. You guys know I love Bangkok. I paid $30,000 for a 20-year visa to Thailand. I'm going to spend a lot of time there. I'm probably going to go back to Chiang Mai after this. I'm going to go to Chiang Mai after this. But a comparable unit in as walkable and as a desirable of a neighborhood and the same quality of building in Bangkok is not going to be cheaper. It's going to be about the same price. So, someone said Thailand is marginally cheaper. I just disagree, at least from an Airbnb perspective. Although, like I mentioned, I could get this similar unit in here for $700 a month. And in Bangkok, in the SA, you can't get in the SA under $1,000 a month. And I would say this building is equivalent to the SA. That's what I would say this building is equivalent to. So, yeah. Someone saying, is it a managed building? Yes. There's security in the building. There's constant front desk. There's a walkway that goes to the mall over there. And it is an unbelievably safe area, like super safe. There are cops on every corner. There are security guards in every building. Like, I've never felt as safe anywhere as I feel here. Now I feel super safe in Bangkok. This is not you guys made it Thailand or Bangkok versus here. I love Bangkok. I love Thailand. But when people say you could get a similar unit in Bangkok for way cheaper, it's just not true. Not in a neighborhood like this, in the quality of building as this is nowadays, at least in Airbnb. So, okay, I'm going to jump into comments here. If you have a question, put a bunch of question marks first so I can identify it as a question and then ask your question. I'm not going to scroll back up and read questions. I'm going to go from now. So if you could ask your question again. Someone said, why do they need cops on every corner? Well, it's to keep this area super, super safe. In some places in Manila, it might not be as safe as this area. It's a super wealthy, super affluent area, and they just want to keep it safe. Like there's no homeless people here. There's no people asking for money. I have not seen any prostitutes like trying to get me to go with them. It's like, not that that stuff's good or bad one way or the other, but you're just not going to get bothered here. You're going to have access to Landers, which is right there, which is similar to a Costco, a zillion restaurants, and it's just super safe and super clean. They have really good trash management here, really good sewer systems, so when it rains, nothing gets flooded. It's just a very well thought out, well run neighborhood. So, and I'm not dogging anywhere else. I'm just telling you what this place is. And it's pretty amazing actually. The sidewalks are ginormous, so it's super walkable. There's no ever walking in the street. The streets all have really good light systems for crossing that people don't ignore. And then when you're on High Street, which is a big long street that doesn't have any traffic, on the weekends they close down the connecting streets so you can't even go down them, so it's just completely walkable. But during the weekday, those streets have pedestrian walking paths, and like in other places, nobody pays attention to them. Here, the cops will be on you if you don't pay attention to them. So that's another great thing about having the police all over the place. If I just walk up to one and there's traffic coming, they will stop for me. Where in other places in Asia, that's not the case. Now, you do learn the flow of traffic, and just to keep walking, the traffic will go around you. But you just don't have to worry about that here. So for me, and people say this all the time, BGC is a bubble in Manila, and that is true. It is. And I say, what's wrong with the bubble? So, all right, let me scroll back up here. Are all the units unique? I would say most of the units are not unique. They're all kind of the same. This one just happened to be decorated really well. I basically got the most expensive studio in here because I was just like, oh, the decorations are great. And there were hundreds of reviews for this place, and they were amazing. And I'm a big believer in going with the places that have the better reviews, and you'll have less issues. Chiang Rai and Chiang Mai have been hit hard by flooding. Yeah, I've seen that, Roy. Not sure BGC is quite on par with Thailand. I live in the Philippines, so not a Thailand fanboy, but the two do not compare. Thailand is miles ahead. BGC is small. Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you mean by small. I mean, it's 3 square miles. Like I get up and walk it every morning. I walk 20,000 steps, and I basically don't repeat any spot. So, I mean, that's a 10-mile walk, and I'm not repeating any spots. So it's a pretty big area relative to like the whole size of Manila, maybe not, but yeah. And again, this is not dogging on Thailand. You guys brought Thailand up and said something. I love Thailand. I paid $30,000 for a visa in Thailand. You guys know I love Thailand. I spent a lot more time in Thailand than I do anywhere else. I'm just telling you, this neighborhood is really cool. And I've traveled the world nonstop most of my life. And it's one of the, if not the coolest neighborhood I've ever been in. It's Japan level safe, in my opinion. So it's Tokyo level safe. And it's, there's like, for the things I like, I like to get up early in the morning and go for a walk. I like to eat food at a bunch of different restaurants, and I like to feel safe and be in a really nice building with great views. It checks out off all those blocks. It's pretty amazing. It's one of the better places I've ever been. When you're out and about, what's the demographic of the people you see in the area? So I would say it's 99.9% Filipino. Like during the week, it's almost all Filipino. I rarely see any Westerners. I know people say, oh, BGC is a bubble with a bunch of expats. I'm sure they're here, but when I go to the mall, like I rarely see another haole, another white dude. In my building, when I get in the elevators, I've only seen a Westerner once, and this is supposed to be a big expat building. It's all been Filipino. So, and then during the week, it's almost all Filipino because a lot of Filipinos come here to work. I'm in basically the financial district, right by JP Morgan Chase, and it's there's a bunch of like brands here, like the brand Bounty has a headquarters here. There's a bunch of different brands here. And so people come to work here. So when I get up and I do my morning walks, I start walking at like 6 in the morning. It's full of Filipinos going to work. And when I go to the mall, like I went to the mall yesterday, I barely saw any Westerners. So I know people say this is a bubble and there's a ton of Westerners. Okay, but I'm just telling you what I'm seeing. It's probably 99% Filipino. I know all 3 of my neighbors on each side of me, they're all Filipino. They all came and like welcomed me because they know the owner. They're all Filipino. So I don't know what to tell people that say, oh, it's a expat bubble. I don't know what to tell you. All right, I see I got a super chat here, so let me look at that real quick and give that appreciation. John said, Navy veterans like us can't beat the Philippines. They have the only VA clinic outside the US. That is true. I'll be going there sometime next year, hopefully permanently. That's awesome, John. I've never registered with the VA. Like that's really stupid. Like you should do that when you retire from the military. I need to do that, especially since I have access to the VA. And the only out of the United States VA in the world is in the Philippines. You might say, why is that? And that's because there used to be a huge military presence here, US military presence. Plus, the US had some kind of agreement with the Philippines. And like when I was in the Navy, like 10% of the Navy was Filipino nationals. They all eventually got their citizenship and everything, but I assume it has something to do with that. But there is a VA medical clinic here. So I appreciate the super chat, brother. Thank you. All right, let me scroll back up here to questions. What is my favorite cruise line? I just completed a Panama Canal transit on Celebrity. My favorite, most people know this, is Princess, just because for a solo traveler, you just can't beat the deals you get with Princess. So when people ask me that question, it's almost always going to be Princess. Now, if I'm just going on one cruise, I don't cruise very often, and I'm going solo, I'll probably pick NCL just because they have a better experience for solos in my opinion. But you can't beat the price on what you get with Princess. Whoa, the Grand Hyatt is right there. Yeah, the Grand Hyatt's right next to me. So if you go to stay at the Grand Hyatt, it's going to be $300 a night to stay there. So I'm not too disappointed by my $45 a night Airbnb. It's somewhere around there, $45 a night. If I wanted to rent this permanently, like I told you, my landlord said he'd do it for $1,200. Maybe I can talk him down because I really like this place. So maybe I can talk him down. Did I move apartments? Yeah, I moved to the Philippines. So I'm in the Philippines for the next 4 months, actually, till almost the end of January. Kevin, do you get your disability from the military? I don't get disability. I just get a retirement. I was like a marathon runner when I retired from the military. And so when they checked me out, they said, you're pretty good other than some hearing loss. So yeah. I get a little bit of my military retirement tax free, but I don't get any disability. I should get re-examined because as I get older, things are starting to hurt, and I'm assuming they're from the military. One of these days, I'm going to go register with the VA, especially if I choose like to live in the Philippines for a big portion of the year. I'm telling you right now, I love this area though. Like, I love it. We'll see. We'll give it time. You know, I always get tired of an area eventually, but we'll give it some time and see how I feel. But it's been one of my favorite places I've ever lived so far. Like Hell's Kitchen is my favorite place I've ever lived. It's just so, well, that's not true. I lived in a little town in Italy called Gaeta, and that's probably my favorite place I've ever lived. But Hell's Kitchen was most recent. But yeah, like this area is just, it's so walkable. There's so many restaurants. It's so clean. It's so safe. It's a really nice place to be. I'm scrolling to try to find questions here. Did I miss the tour? Yeah, Emily, you have to back up in the video. What is your, how you doing, Emily, by the way? What is your, oh, I already read that one. Is it a managed building? So, I mean, there is management in the building, but I think it's almost all owner occupied or owners, you know, making money off Airbnb. I've looked at units in this area and they're actually not too affordable. They're actually pretty expensive. They're like, I wouldn't say they're US prices, but they're close. I mean, if you want one in a new building like this, a studio, it's probably going to cost you $150,000. If you want a 2-bedroom, it's going to be $300K. So. Switching to world travel, I'm now getting rid of everything. When you started, what did you do with unused checks? So I only have to write one check a year, and it's to my I own a house that I rent out, and it's in its own lake community, and they have their own sewer management, and it's in a rural area and they still don't do anything digital. I can pay my lake fees digitally, I can pay my property taxes digitally, but I cannot pay my sewer digitally. So I have to write one check a year. I have not needed checks. So if you set yourself up correctly, you shouldn't need checks unless you have a weird circumstance like I have with this stupid sewer company that is like using like Windows 3.1 or whatever it was way back in the day. So yeah, that's the only check I have to write every year. But I always go visit my mother at least once a year, and so I just do it then. I just pay for the whole year, and I pay via check. Did you change apartments from last week? Yeah. I changed apartments. If you back up in the video, Don, you'll see a tour of this, and you can get more information on this. Makati has more nightlife. Danny, it's kind of true. So Forbes-town has a lot of nightlife. Depends on what kind of nightlife you're talking about. But yeah, Makati has more nightlife for sure. Makati is a super nice area as well, by the way. BGC is just a little bit step above. There's a lot less trash, has huge sidewalks that are 20 foot wide all over the whole BGC, super walkable, super safe. And so I'm not dogging Makati at all. Makati's great. Makati will be a little bit cheaper, but it's not as walkable. And if you're into nightlife, maybe Makati will be better for you. But if you live in Forbes-town, you're going to have a lot of nightlife. There's like Dr. Wine. There's like a ton of places. There are some nightclubs in my little area as well. Not so much in Uptown, but there are some bars that are open till like 2 or 3 in the morning. And but yeah, Forbes-town, which is also in BGC, has this little circle, and it has a ton of nightlife. Maybe not like the club life if you're into that, or if you're into the like girly bars, like more of that kind of stuff. It's not going to be in BGC. BGC is more like a family-oriented place, so you're not going to have that here. But if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I get up at 4 in the morning and I go to bed at 9 o'clock at night. So nightlife is not my thing. So if you want nightlife, maybe you want to be in Maati or somewhere else. Are you the only American in the building? I wouldn't say that. I haven't met any Americans. The only expats I've seen and talked to were British and one Chinese guy, but mostly it's Filipino. And one of the great things about the Philippines, especially in Manila, and even more so in a more affluent area like BGC, is everyone speaks English. Some people speak better English than me. So. Andrea said I got yelled at by security for walking outside the lines in Hawaii. Yeah, Hawaii is pretty strict. Hawaii is very similar to Southeast Asia, to be honest with you, in a lot of ways. Especially now that everywhere I go in Southeast Asia. Actually, let me tell you one of the things I love about BGC, another thing I love about it. There are coffee shops everywhere. Yes, there are a lot of Starbucks. In my walks, I've counted 6 Starbucks. But there also are a ton of mom and pop places. There's also, what's the one from Canada? What's the one from Canada? You guys know what I'm talking about. There's a couple of those, and there's one Seattle's Best, but then there's a ton of mom and pops. Like there's more mom and pops than the commercial ones, which is awesome. Yeah, Tim Hortons. There's a couple Tim Hortons running around here. There's a ton of Krispy Kreme, by the way, too. And let me tell you another thing I like about the Philippines. So if you do decide to do Western fast food, McDonald's, KFC, Starbucks, Krispy Kreme, it is exactly like it is in the United States, taste-wise, from my experience. In other places in Southeast Asia, there are differences. Like the Krispy Kremes in like Malaysia and Bangkok are nowhere near as good as the Krispy Kremes in the United States because they don't have the conveyor belt thing. They're like made somewhere else and brought to the stores or something like that. In Philippines, they are just like in the United States. They're hot, they're warm, they just came off the conveyor belt. Like the Krispy Kreme is like it is in the United States. So if you're into Western food every now and again, you will get what you get in the United States. So I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but. How desirable a place is almost always going to be subjective based on someone's preferences. That's exactly right, TJ. When I was younger, I wanted raw and I wanted to be in the hostel with a backpack. I wanted to, even when I first started traveling, I traveled with Remote Year where I had roommates but now I like the uniqueness of living overseas, but I also want some of the comforts of Western society. And you can hate on me for that, that's fine. We all have our differences. But yeah, so how I travel now is different. When I was younger, I was really into more adventure travel, high adrenaline stuff like skydiving, mountain climbing, snowboarding, whitewater rafting. That kind of stuff doesn't really appeal to me as much anymore. I like to hike, but I don't want to scale a wall anymore. I like to go for a swim, but I don't want to whitewater raft anymore. I'm just not into it anymore. It's just not something that I consider desirable. I want safety, I want good food, and I want walkability. Those are the things that are important to me. So, what about green spaces? Is there a park in BGC? There are parks all over the place. The area I'm in is a little bit more of a concrete jungle, although there are a lot of mature trees here. I'm in Uptown BGC, but all I got to do is walk 5 minutes and I'll be on High Street, and that's all greenery. There's little parks in the middle of it, and there's a big park called Greenview at the end of it. So there's a lot of green spaces, and like I mentioned, everybody has a little tiny dog here. It's like, it reminds me of the Upper West Side in Manhattan. Everyone has a little tiny dog. I mean, they're everywhere. Everywhere. People have little tiny dogs here. It reminds me a lot of the United States. There are pet stores on every corner too, selling little tiny dogs, and also pet grooming and everything is pet friendly here. So all the cafes have little dog bowls. There's also like a ton of cats around. So yeah, it's very pet friendly here. But ton of green spaces. So if you got a ton of dogs, you need green spaces. Have you had lumpia there yet? Yes, I have. And it was phenomenal. I've had lumpia and pancit here many times. There's also a restaurant right next to me called Feta, and they make this Greek salad. It's huge, by the way. And it's amazing. Now, that's not Filipino, but it's super good. So if you're in the BGC, upper BGC area, there's a restaurant called Feta, and they make an amazing salad. They also make an amazing pizza too. Their feta pizza is phenomenal. It's a little bit pricey here. Now you can't eat cheap. Like, there's actually a burger place here that I later found out is Filipino. It's called Burger Beast. Like, some famous chef here like made it. They have the most amazing burgers. If you get a burger, a fry, and a Coke, it's like $7. In the United States, it's going to be $20 now, unless you get it at McDonald's. But if you get a gourmet burger like Burger Beast has, it's going to be like $20 in the United States. So it's like $7. So it's still pretty affordable. If I go to KFC, I'm giving you American versions here. If I go to KFC and I get a chicken sandwich, some coleslaw, and maybe those potato wedges, it's going to be like $5. So it's pretty affordable. This water right here was 18 of the Filipino things, so like 25 cents. So if I get like a little a Coke Zero, it's going to be like 50 cents. When I go and get pancit, I'll get like pancit and some lumpia, but I'm in BGC. If I go to a little Filipino restaurant, it's going to be like $4. If I went outside of BGC, it would be cheaper, probably $2. So they have a ton of Jollibees here, which are also pretty affordable. If you know what Jollibee is, it's like the Filipino McDonald's, basically. And they have, like, what's famous from there from an American perspective is they have spaghetti there, but it has hot dogs in it. Filipinos like hot dogs in their spaghetti. I know it sounds weird, but they do. So I've only tried it once in my life. I need to try it again. I have a lot of people in here today. That's awesome. 127. Thanks for stopping by. What do you think of the criticisms that BGC is fake or a utopia? Not my words. Wondering about the criticisms. So yeah, I see that all the time. Like, BGC is a bubble. And I would say it is kind of a bubble, but I think it's also like, I think people that are not here think it's an expat bubble, but what it is a Filipino bubble. Like, affluent Filipinos, it's just like going to an affluent neighborhood in anywhere. If you go in LA and you go to Beverly Hills, is Beverly Hills a bubble? Yeah, I guess you could say that, but it's still a bunch of Americans. It's a bunch of Filipinos here. Like, it's 99.9% Filipinos here. They're just more affluent Filipinos, and they want safe neighborhoods. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess you can criticize them and say, why do you want a safe neighborhood? But who doesn't want a safe neighborhood? And they have the money and the tax revenue to provide safety in the neighborhood of BGC where they live. Like, I guess you could dog them out if you want. Like, go ahead. But I mean, what do you want them to do? Like, if they're affluent, do you say you need to live in the ghetto? Like, you need to be authentic and live in like, that's just stupid. Like, anywhere, like, when I go back to the United States, I don't, specifically seek out a bad neighborhood, and say, oh, I'm going to live there. Like, when I live in St. Louis, I like to live in the Central West End, which is kind of like BGC. It's walkable, it's safer. It's not even close to as safe as BGC though. It's safer relative to St. Louis. And nobody says, oh, you live in the bubble of Central West End in St. Louis. Nobody says that. You just live in a nice neighborhood. That's what this is. It's a nice neighborhood. You can call it a bubble if you want. You can call it fake or a utopia. I mean, it's just a nice neighborhood. So, Kevin, already answered that one. Sounds like BGC is too expensive for the average tourist expat. Could be the reason you don't see foreigners. I mean, it's expensive relative to other places, but in Southeast Asia maybe. But I would say relative to like if I got this similar unit in New York in a prime neighborhood, it would be $10,000 a month, right? I can get a unit like this in this building for $700 a month. This unit would be $10,000 a month in Manhattan, minimum. And that's the only neighborhood I can think of in the United States that's as walkable. Maybe downtown DC, and in downtown Washington DC, this unit right here, a month would probably be $7,000-8,000 a month, and with a bazillion more crime. It's not going to be as safe as this area. So, a comparable area in DC, but it's not as walkable, would be like Georgetown. Would be a comparable area to BGC, but still not as safe as BGC, in my opinion. Are you going to decorate for Christmas? So if you've been following me on Instagram, you know that Christmas starts in September in the Philippines. They're a very Catholic country, and for whatever reason, Christmas starts in September. There are Christmas trees everywhere now. It doesn't matter what business you go into, they're playing Christmas music. There's Christmas music everywhere. Anywhere you go, in the lobby of my condo building right now, most condo buildings have their Christmas tree up. The mall is covered in Christmas stuff, manger scenes, Christmas trees. It's everywhere already. And it's just going to keep ramping up. Am I going to do anything for it? I don't feel like I need to, because there's so much Christmas around me. All I got to do is walk out of my condo and there's Christmas everywhere. So I don't know if I want it in my condo. If I decide to rent a unit here long term, I'd probably get one of those little Charlie Brown Christmas trees. That's more my style. I'm not a big holiday person or anything like that. I got 135 people in here. That's amazing. Makes me super happy. Smash that thumbs up button if you haven't already. I appreciate everyone being in here and joining me. It's been a while since I've had a big crowd. Maybe it's because I'm in the Philippines and people are excited about it. I've heard Philippines are really popular for YouTube, so I need to quit being so lazy and make more videos, I assume. If you haven't followed me on Instagram, it's 30 to Wake Up. I've been posting a lot of stuff on there, especially my morning walks. It's great. Somebody said parking in DC is expensive. Yeah, that's true. Parking my unit came with a parking spot. I didn't elect to use it because I'm not going to get a vehicle, because this place is so walkable, and Grab is so cheap here. So Grab is the same as Uber here. So if I want to go from one side of BGC to the other, I decide I don't want to walk. It's like $1.50 to get their version of Uber, which is Grab. It's actually a little bit better than Uber in my opinion. If I want to go 10 miles in an Uber here, the equivalent of an Uber in a Grab, it's like $4. It's super cheap. I took an Uber from the airport to here, and it was I think it was like 9 miles, and it was at the heart of rush hour. It was like $6. I actually felt bad about it, and the max I could tip on there was like $5. I felt bad about it because it was like a 45-minute drive with traffic, and I didn't have any cash, so I tipped them $5, but I felt bad about it, that the ride was only $6. Actually, come to think of it, it wasn't $6. It was like 130. It was like 130 Filipino peso. I've got to get my mind back into Filipino peso, and it's 56 peso to the dollar right now. So it was actually like $2.50 or something, and the max I could tip I think was $5 or something like that. I felt bad about it, so I paid him like $7 for like a 45-minute ride because of traffic. Like in New York City, that would have been $100. All right, let me jump back into here. Do you do anything before, after, during your walks, like stretch or warm up? Yeah, I wake up. So I've been doing my walks early in the morning. I've been waking up at 3 a.m. to catch the end of the U.S. stock market. And then I'll usually watch closing market stuff. I'll watch, what's the show that comes on right before Jim Cramer? Can't remember the name of it, but I really like it. Something trading or something. I'll watch that show, and then I'll probably watch a little bit of Jim Cramer, and then I'll start walking. And usually every morning I do 100 sit-ups, 100 push-ups. That's been my routine my whole life. And then I'll go out for my walk. Because this area is so walkable, I just really love walking here. It's easy to get my steps. I'll walk 2 to 3 hours. I've been closer to 3 hours, which is about 18,000 steps for me. And then I'll come home, I'll shower up, and then I'll walk to one of the restaurants around here. If I go into the mall, to the food court, or in one of the mall restaurants, that area over there called Uptown Parade is nothing but restaurants in a like circular outdoor area. The restaurants are inside and air conditioned, but you like walk around this outdoor area. And if I go to the mall, I'll walk around each floor as I go up to the food court. So by the time I get up to the top, I've done 5,000 more steps. So I'm getting a ton of steps here, between 20 and 30,000 a day, which is amazing. But yeah, I'll do that, and then I'll come home and I'll just decide what I'm going to do for the rest of the day. I have a couple friends over here that I've met up with to eat some food, enjoy some food with, chat about the area. But really, to be honest with you, I'm getting to know the area. And that's the great thing about doing these morning walks, is the way I do it is I do the circumference of BGC, and then I'll walk each street like this. And then I'll come down and walk each street like this. So I'm getting all the major streets, all these little thoroughways. I'm going up High Street, which is called a street, but it's really not a street. It's just a big, long walkway with stores and restaurants on each side for pedestrians. It's like a mile long at least. And so, yeah, that's what I've been doing. And I've just really been getting to know the area, which has been awesome. I have to say, and I keep saying this, like, this might be my favorite area I've ever been in, because it hits all my check. Like, it is so walkable, it is so safe, and it has so many restaurants. Like, and I'm actually in the least restaurant area up in Uptown, and within a 1-minute walk of me right now, I would say there's 80 to 100 restaurants, maybe more. And then if I go down in the Forbestown and BGC area, there's 500. I don't know how many it is, but it is like, it's so many. Like, it's crazy. And there's all kinds of foods. There's a lot of Filipino. There's like multiple Mexican restaurants, which is awesome. Like Tex-Mex. There's a bunch of Spanish, what do they call, tapa restaurants, which is one of my favorite kinds of restaurants to go to. I've seen Cuban restaurants. There's a ton of Italian restaurants. I've seen a Belgian restaurant, a ton of like shawarma places, a ton of Chinese places. Like, it's awesome. Like, it has everything that I love: walkability, safety, and tons of food. And all different varieties. And then all of the Western stuff you want. Starbucks on every corner, McDonald's on every corner, the Filipino Jollibee on every corner, KFC on every corner. There's a Shake Shack here, which is like one of my favorite burgers, that little pepper burger they do. It's one of my favorites. The Shake Shack is right next to a Pottery Barn, which is another place I love. If I was gonna stay here, it'd be great, because I get to go to Pottery Barn and buy these kind of decorations for my apartment. I haven't seen a Pottery Barn in a long time. I don't even know if they exist in the United States, but they exist over here. There's an Old Navy, there's a Zara, there's an H&M, places to go and get cheap, shirts and stuff. So it's great. I can always go outside of the BGC bubble and get more authentic experience if I want, but you get a lot of Filipino culture in here, because 99% of BGC is Filipino. So they cater to Filipinos, not to expats. And you can get out of the bubble and go do things, which I'm going to. I'm trying to find some friends that'll travel with me to like some of the different like hot spots here, like all the like beautiful water that you see in the Philippines and all that kind of stuff. Although it is rainy season, so we'll see how that goes. But you have access to all that, but you also have this bubble where you can live a really high quality of life, which is amazing. How's public transportation? I have no idea. I haven't tried it. I mentioned earlier that Grab is so cheap. I don't even know if I would use it. I have no idea how public transportation is here. You guys know I love the train in the BTS in Bangkok. I love it. It's amazing. And the MRT and the BTS in Bangkok. I don't know if the Philippines has similar. I don't know if I would use it here because Grab is so cheap. Like, why wouldn't I just pay $2 to go where I want to go? So, because it's going to cost me $1 to take the train. Is the cost of restaurants in BGC similar to Southeast Asian countries? I'd say it's a little bit pricier. Like that feta place that I went to, that big giant, I mean, it's a huge salad though. And it's not like a bunch of lettuce. It's like big chunks of cucumber, Kalamata olives, big chunks of feta, like all the stuff that go into like a Greek salad, right? It's a lot, there's not any lettuce in it. It's like all the other good stuff, right? I think that thing was like $8. So, it's an $8 salad. I think the pizza that I got there, which was amazing, was like $8. I know they have, like I said, I went and got a burger at a gourmet burger place called Beast Burger or Burger Beast, and it was like $7 for the whole meal. Yeah, it was awesome. I also go and get this, like I love Korean, like the Korean fried chicken, which they have everywhere in Asia now, like the different flavors, like soy garlic or something like that. And I go to this place and I get the kimchi rice, and it's called half and half. It's like half soy garlic and half something else, some other spicy kind of chicken, and it's boneless chicken. Whoa. And it's, I want to say that meal's like $9 or something. So it's a little bit it's a little bit more expensive than if you went outside, and outside of the BGC bubble, it'd probably be a little bit cheaper. But it's still not expensive compared to the United States, not even close. Write the check to mail through Chase. Yeah, I could do that with Chase. You're right. Teeth look great. Would you ever consider doing S&P, scalp, hair? My buddy did it in BKK. Looks incredible. I mean, one of these days, I'd love to have my hair back. Like I used to have, when I was younger, I had really nice hair. Like really, I have like jet black hair. You can probably tell by like the black on my beard. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of famous for being bald now, so maybe I just stay bald. But if I could have like a full hairline, I would do it. But I don't know if I want to do like through surgery or anything. I'm waiting for even better breakthrough. Definitely agree. BGC is a step above Maati in terms of opulence. When I took my girlfriend to BGC, she felt like we were in a different country. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it feels like you're in a different country because it's the Philippines. Like I keep telling people it reminds me of Manhattan, but it's way cleaner and way safer and smells way better. Like Manhattan smells like sewage. Like whatever they're doing here, like whatever they're doing to manage trash, sewage, like their water management system when it rains really hard, like whatever they did here, like they did it well. And like the safety here is like it's like, I feel like it's like Tokyo level safe. Like it just feels next level from a safety perspective. And I know you still got to keep your head on a swivel and all that kind of stuff. Stuff could happen, but it just feels really safe here. Especially the time that I'm going out. But I can see out my window right here. here in Uptown, and it looks pretty safe to me. But again, this is a more affluent area. It would be like being in Beverly Hills in the United States. How's the BGC dating scene versus other cities? I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I do have my dating apps turned on, my dating app turned on, and I have been getting a bunch of matches, but honestly, I'm just looking at like exploring the area, getting to know it, hanging out with my friends that I know here, things like that. Someone just said, I think BGC is similar to downtown Singapore. I would say in a way it is, but 100 times more walkable, cleaner. I know people say, Singapore is really clean. Singapore, man, there are rats everywhere. Like when I walk around Singapore, like you will see a rat, you'll see a lot of rats. And some areas are not, they're very clean. Like I would say BGC is way cleaner. And I would say safety level, it's probably the same because Singapore's super safe. But I'd say it's cleaner, it smells better than Singapore, and it's way more walkable than Singapore. It's not even comparable in walkability. Singapore has walkable areas, but Singapore can be unfriendly to people walking. There is no part of BGC that's not walkable. No part of it. It is all walkable with huge 20-foot wide sidewalks on both sides. Like the sidewalks have little sidewalk dividers in them for traffic flow. The sidewalks have, they're huge. They're huge. Everyone has a dog. There's no dog poop anywhere. So yeah. Makati would still be my choice. It has great malls, great green areas. Yeah, I need to explore Makati a little bit more. I haven't explored it. But just from what I've seen with it, it's not as walkable. Maybe it has walkable spots, but it's not as convenient from a walkability perspective. And I'm searching for something that is 100 on a walkability score. And I haven't been to very many places that are that outside of maybe a little small area. The entire BGC is walkable. Like it doesn't have a non-walkable area. It's crazy. Whoever designed this city should win an award and be in charge of designing other cities. And the internet's great here too, by the way. I've heard things about the Philippines maybe not having great internet, but in BGC it's great. Like my internet is like 400 up, 400 down. Like it's great. Even with the thing turned on, whatever you call it. All right. Is vegan cuisine a thing in Southeast Asia? Yeah, very much so. There's a lot of, like in Thailand, it's easy to eat vegan. Any country with Buddhists, there's like sects of Buddhism that are vegetarian at a minimum. And like if you go to like Malaysia, there's a huge Indian culture there. And so there's a lot of vegan, vegetarian type of places. I've seen a ton here that say vegan or vegetarian on them. So there's a ton. Again, BGC is a more affluent area. So when you're in more affluent areas, like that kind of like I don't know how to use it, but like hippie yoga, vegan type of stuff just exists more. And I've seen that kind of stuff here. Like there's yoga studios, there's vegan, there's all kinds of art stuff going on, and I'm not saying that in a derogatory way. I'm just using it as like a term, hipster, that kind of stuff. It's more hipster, right? Would you ever take us to Italy, Gaeta, Italy? Yeah, I need to go back to Gaeta, Italy. I lived there for 2 years. I want to go back and live there a month. Maybe I'll do that in 2025 when I'm going to head over to Europe at some point, and so I'll probably do that then. I definitely want to go back and revisit the place. I loved it. It's Gaeta, G-A-E-T-A, or G-E-A-T-A. I think it's G-A-E-T-A. There's a YouTuber I watch that spent a year in BGC and has a lot of informative videos. Okay to shout him out. Yeah, shout him out. Is it that guy that starts with an M? I can't remember his name. He's like British. He's really good. I can't remember his name though. And then there's another guy too, like an American guy that comes in and out of here, but spends a lot of time here. But there's a British guy like Mergen. Yeah, Mergen. Yeah, I love him. I haven't ran into him. I know he lives in the building next to the one I'm in. So maybe I'll run into him. I haven't run into him yet, but I have corresponded with him a little bit, but it was a long time ago when I was wanting to try BGC. But yeah, he's what made me wanted to live in Uptown. Now, I'll be honest with you, I think if I could find a really nice unit in Forbestown, I really like Forbestown because it connects to High Street and it's just more neighborhoody. I do love this area though. There's things about here I love and there's things about Forbestown I love. So Forbestown is just a little area in BGC, but it connects to High Street, so it's just more convenient. If I decided I wanted to go out to like a bar, it's much more convenient to do that, to just walk out of my place, go to like Dr. Wine or whatever it's called, and not get all sweaty trying to get there. And then whenever I want to go home, I'm just right next to my place. Do they clean up after their dogs? Yeah, I haven't seen any dog poo. And there are thousands of dogs in this area. Thousands of little tiny dogs everywhere. Everywhere. There are dogs here. Very dog friendly. Carolina says, I'd love to have a teacup Yorkie. A lot of those here, a lot of those little yappy dogs. My mother used to have a teacup Maltese, and I've seen a lot of those here too. A lot of Shiba Inus, a lot of them. They really love their Shiba Inus here. And a lot of French Bulldogs. I would say French Bulldogs and Shiba Inus. And yesterday at the mall, they had, I guess on the weekends, you can bring your dog to the mall, and all the dogs have little diapers on them, but they also had they have dog sellers there, and they do like a dog presentation and all this crazy stuff. I don't know if it's every weekend, but it was this weekend. And there were dogs all over the mall, like thousands of dogs in the mall. In Asia, they still have a mall culture. It's not like the United States where malls are dead. If you go to the mall on the weekend here, it's just hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people in the mall. Another cool thing I like about this building is there's a movie theater. So I'm going to go watch The Joker pretty soon, and Joker 2 or whatever it's called now. And I can do that. Like right next to me, I can just go and watch Joker. So it's really cool. Do you drink the tap water? I have not. I need to do more research about it. I have not drank the tap water. I brushed my teeth with it, but I haven't drank the tap water yet. What's your favorite stocks for covered calls? I saw a lot of covered calls on my Johnson & Johnson holdings. It's just pretty stable, and nothing's 100%, but it's easy to predict. I have sold some covered calls on my Rocket Lab position, which I've regretted because I've had to cover it because it's went up so much. So I don't know if I'm going to do that anymore. Most Filipinos you see will travel to BGC to work in the call centers. Not many live there. That's not true, Mad Max. It's just not true. My building is full of Filipinos. I see Filipinos. If I get in the elevator, it's not. If you say, I'll be like, you bet me $1 million that we'll see someone beside a Filipino, and I'll bet you $1 million that we'll see a Filipino. 99.9% of the people I see in this area are Filipino in my building. And I have one of the most touristy buildings I live in one of the most touristy buildings. If you're talking about down in Forbestown, it's almost all Filipino. If you're talking about at the Avida, which is a little bit more affordable building, it's all Filipino. So I just disagree with you, Mad Max. From my experience, and maybe my mind will change, I rarely see any expats here. I have not seen very many. it's almost all Filipino. And I'm not talking about the people going to work. I'm talking about walking around my building. It's all Filipino. Coming out of their apartments, their little kids coming home every day from school with their backpacks, they're all Filipino. So I barely see, I go out of my way to greet the expats when I see them because it's so rare. Like, I just rarely see them. So either they're not going out at all, which doesn't make any sense, or that's just not true. So, yeah. And maybe your experience is different, but it's just not true in my experience. Someone said Washington, D.C. is very expensive. Yeah, D.C. is expensive. I lived there for 3 years. It's pretty expensive. I didn't own a car there. You don't need to own a car in D.C. Someone said parking there is expensive. Yeah, you don't need to own a car in D.C. though. Jamie's from Australia. What's going on, Jamie? Are you going to cruise from there? Maybe. There are some cruises that go in and out of here. Maybe I will. We'll see. Are your neighbors noisy? Or is there good soundproofing? There seems to be good soundproofing. I mean, I'm on a higher floor, and there are nightclubs down there, and I don't hear them. I don't hear any people, and there are hundreds of people down there at all times. I don't hear any, and I've never heard my neighbors. I know I have a neighbor over there and over on that side. I've met them. So I know I have neighbors, but there on this side is a young couple with a kid. Never heard the kid. On that side is like a single Filipino guy. He's actually a lawyer. So that was something we had in common. Hey, Going Green Mom, thanks for being in here. I recommend Movelt. A motorbike driver will get you somewhere 3 times quicker. I agree with that. I just don't like being on a motorbike that I'm not in control of. So I don't think I would ride on a motorbike taxi. I know a lot of people do. I don't think I would do that. $25,000 steps is like 12 miles. Yeah, I'm getting a ton of miles here. And the biggest reason why is it's so walkable. That, like, when I was at that place in M City where I just came from, it's a great building. There's a lot of like great things in the building, grocery store. It was very convenient, but the neighborhood was not walkable. And I was getting like maybe 10,000 steps a day. I would have to go out of my way. Just was not walkable. When a place is walkable, you just feel good about going out. Like when I go out here and I walk on High Street, it's so beautiful. There's all kinds of people out. There's people out with their dogs. There's kids playing. The air's fresh. There's a lot of greenery. As I walk past all the different coffee shops, there's music going on. And it just feels nice to be outside. And it's like the sidewalks are huge. I don't have to deal with traffic. I'm not sitting at lights forever waiting to cross the street. It's just nice. And so I just tend to get a lot more steps when that's why I like having a walkable area, because it's just more conducive to a healthy lifestyle for me. I don't want to have to go in a gym and run or walk on a treadmill. I want to be able to go outside and enjoy being outside. So it's, and I get it, man. I get people, BGC is a bubble, blah, blah, BGC is not the real Philippines. I think that's kind of insulting to the Filipinos that live in this area. They're going to be like, yeah, it's the real Philippines. Like, what does that mean? Like, we can't have nice things? Like, what does that mean? But yeah, I really like it for the walkability. Like, it's just ridiculous. It's so walkable. Like, I know I keep harping on that, but I've never been in an area that's this walkable other than New York City, except for I would say it's more walkable than New York City because the sidewalks are wider and it's not as congested. It doesn't smell. There's not people's trash on the sidewalk, and there's no crime. So Someone said tapas are from Spain. Yeah, I love Spanish restaurants. There's a lot of them here, you know, because Spain had such a influence on the Philippines. Condo seems like a better deal than a hotel. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, if I was outside of BGC, you could find hotels for really good price. I mean, you can find an apartment in Manila, a decent apartment for 150 bucks a month. Like, don't get me wrong, there are cheaper options. It'll be a small studio with like one of those bathrooms where the shower's like next to the toilet, like there's no separator. But you can find that stuff here. Like just like Bangkok, you can find that stuff here. Have you gained any weight this week? No, I've actually lost weight. I've lost 2 pounds. So I had started moving up again, gaining weight. And I'm like coming back down now because I'm walking so much. Like when I walk 20 to 30,000 steps, I can basically eat what I want and still lose weight. Sometimes I have to eat more to like, so I don't lose weight. Like I don't want to get so skinny that I'm like unhealthy. Where are you thinking of visiting outside of Manila? Like Boracay, I think is what it's called. There's so many great places. Like you guys that know the Philippines better than me, like throw out places that I should go. I think Palawan maybe. There's a ton of like amazing places to go with beautiful water that I want to go to. Kevin, are you close to a military base? I don't think so. I don't think there's any U.S. military bases near Manila. The local trains area stepped down from the BTS to Bangkok, very crowded and dirty. That's good to know. How comfortable do you think traveling solo through Asia would be for a Western female? I think it would be super comfortable. I think it would be super comfortable, you know. I mean, you still got to be vigilant. And if you're a nighttime person, I always tell people like, I never have problems with crime, even in high crime areas, because I go to bed at 9 o'clock. I'm not outside when crime happens. While crime may happen in the day, it's more likely to happen at night. And so it depends on what kind of traveler you are. If you're like me and you get up early in the morning and you go to bed early, I would say anywhere in Asia is probably going to be pretty safe for you. If you're over 55, look into the SRRV visa. So because I'm retired military, they have a visa for retired U.S. military, which is a version of the SRRV, but it's at 50, not at 55. So next year I'll be eligible for it, and I'm going to get it. Like, why not? It's super cheap, and I can already tell you that I'm going to spend a lot of time in BGC. In my life. I just love it here. I feel very comfortable here. It's a super healthy place to live. It's still affordable by Western standards for what you get. And yeah, I really like it. Someone said Manhattan is stinky. Manhattan can be stinky. The worst thing in Manhattan, like I used to run, I lived on 55th and 8th, and so I'd run to Central Park and then run around Central Park. But a lot of the sidewalks are like, sometimes you'll step on a piece of the sidewalk and there'll be water there, and the water will splash up onto your shoe, into your sock, and it'll be just the nastiest, grimiest looking water, and you know it's like full of pet feces and urine. It's just so gross. And even probably some human urine too. You remind me of a young Alan Alda. I've never gotten that one before. I get Pep Guardiola. I get, what's that Australian guy? There's an Australian Outback guy that's bald head. Survivalist guy that I get a lot. And recently I've been getting that I sound like the guy who plays Incredible Hawk now. I can't remember his name. I've been getting that a lot, that I sound like him. So. Yeah, there's trash everywhere in New York City and Manhattan. You put your trash out on the sidewalk. I don't know how they manage trash here. I don't know how they're doing it, but there's no trash. Like, I mean, I know I throw away trash every day. Somebody's picking it up. I don't know how it's being managed. I've never seen a trash truck. I see the streets are, like, the sidewalks are so clean. I see people out spraying them with like high pressure sprayers every day. It's the cleanest city I've ever been in, other than maybe Tokyo and Singapore, but I'd say it's at that level. You can go enjoy both BGC and Maati. Yeah, I know BGC is very close, or Maati is very close to BGC. Have you found tasty ube desserts in your area? No, but I need to search that. I'm sure they're here. How are the visas to stay in the Philippines? It's one of the best if you want to stay long term. It's kind of a pain in the ass in the beginning, but eventually they start giving you like 6 months to a year, and you can stay on a tourist visa up to 3 years, which is insane, right? You get a 30-day when you arrive, and then you can go extend it like 59 days, and then you can go extend it like 3 to 6 months, and then 6 months, and then a year. But you can stay on a tourist visa up to 3 years. That's insane. Now, you have to go and like do some stuff to do that. But and in the beginning, it's a little bit of a pain in the butt. But I might film it and tell you all about it. Do they have a Chili's there? Yes, they have a Chili's and a Fridays. I've seen a Chili's and a Fridays here. SRVV visa is $5,000 forever, allows you to work. Yeah, I don't need that one because I got the military one that I get at 50, and it's less than 5,000, way less than 5,000 bucks. For whatever reason, they let retired U.S. military have this special visa. So probably because they know we have a guaranteed income. Yeah, someone said the Philippines is not somewhere you'll see a lot of expats. The key word is many. It's not like Thailand. Yeah, from my experience so far, I agree with that. It's also not high tourist season. Someone told me it was high tourist season right now. Someone told me, oh, you're there during high tourist season. I don't know. Hey, Nikki, what's going on? Have you met your neighbors? Yeah, I just talked about that. The smog from the cars, look about the windows there. Actually, the smog in BGC has not been bad. Maybe it is in other parts of Manila, but in BGC, I don't know why, but it's not that bad. It's not bad here. I haven't even noticed it, and maybe it's because I'm here during rainy season and it's raining all the time. But it's really not that bad. You're seeing like glare because the sun is over here, but if like it's not bad at all, to be honest with you. Jane says, I walk about 10 minutes to get to a walkable area near me and wish I could just walk outside my door. Yeah, that's how I like to live. I don't ever want to own a car anymore. I don't like the expense. I don't like the administrative responsibilities that come with owning a car. I just want to live in walkable areas. If I need to rent a car, I can rent a car if I need it every now and again. But I don't want to be, I want to be in an area where there's a grocery store, restaurants, all within 1 minute walk. And now I have a movie theater within a 1 minute walk. I have an H&M if I need to go get some skivvies, or skivvies, that'll give away that I was in the Navy. But yeah. Someone said, I don't remember smog when I was in BGC. I don't, it's nothing like Bangkok smog-wise. and maybe other parts of Manila have smog, but this area is just not smoggy. So, how can we find a place near you for $300 to $600 a month with fast internet? So, go and search condos for rent in BGC, and you'll find like 2 or 3 websites that have a bunch listed, and you'll just look at what I think 55,000 pesos is $1,000 a month. So you're looking for a place in like the 25,000 to 30,000. You can find some 25,000 peso a month places here, but there's not a lot. You can find some 35,000 a month. Even in my building, there's 1 or 2 35,000 a month peso places. But in most of BGC, for a studio or a 1-bedroom, you're going to be talking 40,000 pesos above a month. So, like, I don't even know what that is, $700 or something a month. You're going to be looking at somewhere, 700 is probably where you're going to start. You can find the 25 to 35,000. 25,000, you're going to be in an older building with you're not going to have floor to ceiling windows like this. And it's probably going to be in McKinley Hill, which is I'm in Uptown BGC, then there's Forbestown, and then there's like McKinley Hill. It's like this little triangle. You're going to be over McKinley Hill, which is nice. It's nice, but you can find some older buildings over there, and it's a little bit cheaper. And you could probably find some in Forbestown. There's a guy called like Bull in the Philippines or something like that, and I think he lives in Forbestown, and I think he's paying like $400 a month. So he found a place over there. There's a ton of buildings over there. So you're going to be in an older building. You're not going to be in a newer building like this. But you can, I've seen units listed in here for $35,000 a month in this building. So you can find them in here. 40,000 pesos is about 700, someone just said. But then you're going to have to pay electricity and internet. Internet's really cheap here, so it's not that expensive. So you're talking probably like 20 a month or something. And then utilities, and that depends on how much you use your AC. That's going to dictate that. Now there are two types of AC units here. There's inverter units and non-inverter. I've heard if you have a non-inverter one, it's much more expensive. So, but just factor in $100 a month for electricity, and if you spend less, great. But someone said I recommend El Nido in Palawan. I've heard about that. I've heard it's beautiful. Asia is safer than South America. Absolutely. 100 times safer than most places in South America that I've been. Someone said Batanyan, and I'm not going to be able to say these. Malpascai Island, says Roy. Roy always has good recommendations. You can walk in the wee hours there in BGC, and it's very safe. Yeah, last night I woke up really early for football. I woke up at like 2 in the morning, and I looked outside, and there were like 4, like maybe preteens, maybe teenagers, maybe like 13 years old, out there like being teenagers out there, And then eventually I saw security come up and tell them to carry on and move along, but they were just out there being teenagers. And so their parents are comfortable with them being out. And they were like well dressed. They were in their Nikes and Levi's. They were obviously from affluent families. They were Filipino kids too. I saw them out there like horsing around with each other, like, wrestling around and like, and that was at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Patrick says, I've got Denangi right now, kicking my butt. Oh man, that sucks. That's one of my biggest fears being in Asia, is getting Denangi, whatever it's called, Denangi flu. Oh man, I do not want to get that. Someone said they're watching Barry J. Briggs and Brian the Lion. I've never watched them. I've watched that Merriam guy. He's great. Like I got a lot of great info from him because he's a solo traveler who likes to wear black shirts in BGC. He's put out some great content. Like I've watched like Bull in the Philippines or something like that. He's an older guy like me. And then I've watched a lot of the family channels. There's a ton of families that move over here because of the affordability, but also the safety. And there's also some really good schools over here in BGC. There's one called Mom Duty, and they moved here. And a lot of people think the mother is Filipino, but she's not. She's Mexican. The husband is Filipino-American. He's American, but he's of Filipino descent. The other one is Always Be Changing, and they're just a bunch of white people that live here. And I haven't seen either one of them out and about here yet, but I think they live in Forbes-town area. Another thing, you have St. Luke's Hospital here in BGC, which is like world renowned. Like there's a St. Luke's in St. Louis where I'm from. And I'm gonna go try St. Luke's out probably in January. I'm gonna do their men's health examination there and talk all about it. Someone said, do you see people picking up after their dogs? Yeah, they're really strict about that here. It's super clean here. Like one of the cleanest places I've been. It's like Singapore, Tokyo clean. BGC is the most westernized city in Southeast Asia. Yeah, I would say Singapore probably is, but I'd say BGC is Singapore-ish when it comes to that. I'm a veteran too. Check out the VFW because you can get a post office box, same like the ones you had when you were stationed overseas. That's very cool to know, retired at 33. That's very cool to know. I need to check that out. If I decide to live here, it'd be great to have a P.O. box. Do you know your pace per mile? About 18 minutes per mile. 18 to, yeah, usually around 18 to 19. Do you recommend that I go in the military so that I can be a monger for free? Jesus. Let's see. Are you going to cruise from Manila? Maybe. We'll see, Nancy. I haven't even looked at what cruises cruise out of Manila. I know there are some, though. Did you sneak out when you were a teenager? Yeah, I used to sneak out all the time. Have you seen lots of Christmas decorations? There are Christmas decorations everywhere. If you're just joining me, I mentioned this earlier. Yeah, J&J, the lonely bull in Asia. That's his name. He's got great BGC stuff. And he lives very affordably. He lives on under $2,000 a month. I think even less than that. He's a good person to follow if you want to live in BGC affordably, right? He's living on, I would say if I lived in BGC, I'd probably spend about $3,000 a month. Actually I could probably, it depends on if I wanted to sign a long-term lease or not. If I wanted to sign a long-term lease, I would get a place like this between $700 and $800 a month, or between $700 and $1,000 a month. And then me, I don't party, so I'd probably spend $1,000 to $1,500 a month. So I could probably live here pretty easily on $2,500 a month. If I was Airbnb-ing it and wanting to stay here, it'd probably be closer to $3,000. But that's Airbnb, right? Also, like the other day, I bought a couple collared shirts and from H&M, and they were like $20 a piece. And I mentioned that I can go from my condo underground. When you're going underground, there's a bunch of shops. One of them is a cleaner, and they hand wash the shirts and press them and hung them up for me. And it was a total of $4 to have 2 shirts hand washed and ironed for me and hung on hangers. So I guess it was like $2 a shirt, which I think is pretty affordable. And it was next day. I got next day service. So yeah. I'm trying to like dress more like an adult, not be in t-shirts all the time. But yeah, back to Christmas. There are Christmas decorations everywhere because Christmas starts in September in the Philippines. Goes from September to the end of January. So there are Christmas decorations everywhere. Any mall you go into is all Christmas music. Most stores are Christmas music now. Like you're gonna hear White Christmas or, Baby It's Cold Outside. You're gonna hear all that stuff here. You're gonna hear, it's all Christmas. Christmas decorations everywhere. It's a very Catholic country, so there are manger scenes everywhere right now. Santa Claus is everywhere, all that stuff. Every building has a big giant Christmas tree up in it. Every condo building, it's everywhere. I've been to the Philippines 10 times between 92 and 2017. Yeah, I really like it. I really like it here. Ann says I'm going to have to bow out early. Got a morning call for an MRI. Well, be safe. Nana on the Run says, hey, Kevin, what are the main natural disasters that you may see there? Sometimes you have, anytime you're in Southeast Asia, you got typhoon and tsunami risks, right? Those are the big ones. I have to look and see about in the Philippines if they have earthquake risks. I've never heard of an earthquake in the Philippines, but knock on wood. But I have to look that up. But yeah, anytime you're in this area, typhoons and tsunamis are always a risk. Darrow says, my wife had a birthday September 1st. Very cool. Happy birthday to your wife, Darrow. All right, I'm all caught up on questions. If I missed your question, it wasn't intentional. Throw a bunch of question marks on there and throw the question back out there. And I will be sure to answer it. Daryl says there was an earthquake here in 1996. Okay, that's good to know. Ronan says, we're on a similar path, cars instead of motorbikes, collared shirts instead of t-shirts, rollerboard instead of roller carry-on bags. Yeah, I guess I am turning into an old man, right? I guess I am turning into an old man. I did get the slim fit collared button-up shirts. I did get the slim fit, so maybe I'm still a little bit young with that. But I can't believe I'm almost 50. Like yesterday, so they have this place here called, I just forgot the name of it. Starts with an L. Lambert's. They have a place here called, no, it's not Lambert's. Is it Lambert's? Maybe it's Lambert's. They have a place here called Lambert's, and it's like a mini Costco. It's not as big as Costco, but it's like a Costco. You can buy things in bulk. You can also buy, like, they have whole cooked game birds there in a bunch of different flavors, and they're like under $5. You can get pizza there, you can get a bunch of things, but it's a membership. It's 500 pesos for the year, so that's like $8 or something like that. So I bought one. I bought a membership card. And you can buy like cleaning gear there. You can buy all kinds of stuff there. And it's right next to me, so I was like, why not? And they have a bunch of like everything you can think of, like Costco. And you can buy it in bulk, but they do have single items there. You can buy clothes there. They have pants, t-shirts. I need to go over there and get some t-shirts because one of my merino wool t-shirts is like going on 6 years old now, and it's starting to look pretty ragged. So I need to get another one. It's the one I work out in, and it's starting to look pretty ragged. Phil says, wow, I love your condo. Enjoy the Philippines. You're doing great. Yeah, I love it here too. You should cruise over to Australia, then to Hawaii. That'd be fun. I've been looking at that. I'm going to Hawaii in January. I'm going to Kauai. A friend of mine has a timeshare there that he's going to let me use. So I am going to Hawaii, going to Kauai in January, late January. Again, I'm all caught up on questions, so if you have anything, throw it out there. If you have any questions, throw it out there. I spent 30 years working in offices and becoming more casual. Yeah, that's always been my saying on here. Whatever I can do to avoid wearing pants. But I think I need to wear collared. I need to look less like I'm going to the beach when I'm going to like a restaurant. I need to not be in flip-flops. And I own a lot of swimming shorts, and sometimes I just wear those to like nicer restaurants with a t-shirt and flip-flops. That's probably not I should dress a little nicer. Have I visited to Australia, asked Jack, many times. When I was in the Navy, probably went there a dozen times. And then when last time I came over here, with remote year, I stopped by there. But yeah, I've spent a lot of time in Australia in my life. Brisbane, Darwin, and Sydney, and Alice Springs in the military, which is out in the middle of nowhere. So with the condo, you gained a clothes washer, but lost daily cleaning. Any other differences? So I do get cleaning every 2 weeks here. They'll come and change my linens and clean the Airbnb. So I do get cleaning, and they'll switch out all the linens. Which, to be honest with you, I don't even really need that. I'm a super neat freak, and bought a bunch of cleaning gear since I'm going to be here 4 months, and I keep this place so clean. Like this place is cleaner than when I arrived, and it was a clean Airbnb. I always deep clean my Airbnbs when I arrive if I'm staying more than a couple days, and I deep clean the crap out of it. I'm like the ideal Airbnb tenant. This place will be cleaner when I leave than when I got here. I'm a super neat freak. So, but yeah, they do offer cleaning and changing all the linens every 2 weeks. Are there any cruise or boat tours around the Philippines? Yeah, there are tons. There are tons of those. I need to do more research though. Becky said, I just got back from Kauai. It's my favorite. Yeah, I love Kauai. The Garden Island, it's great. Why You Trippin' said my shorts are also hybrid. Yeah, when I was in Florida, I went to a polo, a Ralph Lauren, what do they call it? Those places where they discount outlet malls or whatever. And they had a ton of Ralph Lauren shorts, with the little polo logo on them, so I look cool. And I just bought 4 different colors of them. And so yeah, I have a lot of these. I have blue, I have these, I have yellow, I have orange. So yeah, I wear those everywhere. Swearwork says, I'm the same with cleaning. I leave it cleaner than when I got there. Do people dress nice in BGC? Yeah, they do. It's a very well-dressed area. Like I said, it's a more affluent area. Kind of reminds you a little bit of something like Beverly Hills. Maybe not as snooty as Beverly Hills, but kind of and everyone is well-dressed. Do you pay for the condo cleaning? I mean, I'm sure it was part of my Airbnb fee, but I don't have to pay for it over what I paid for this Airbnb. Do you have a deep cleaning checklist routine? Will we ever see it? No, I'll usually buy something that has bleach in it. Like here they have the same kind of Clorox spray like you get in the United States. And I'll buy I bought I mentioned that place. It's not called Lambert's, it's called Landers, which is like a Costco. I bought a big thing of paper towels, and I just go wipe everything down from top to bottom. The floor completely with the spray bleach. Every surface gets washed. All the dishes get rewashed. The shower gets cleaned. The toilet gets majorly cleaned. The sink, everything just gets the bleach treatment, the Clorox bleach treatment. So you may like that or not. Still investing in Voyager, says Crypto. No, man, that was one of the, I've had a few, and how you doing, Crypto, man? I miss you, man. I've had a few life lessons, and one of them was Voyager when it comes to investing. It was definitely one of those things that were like, stick with things that are protected by the government. And so now I still have some Bitcoin, but I've been slowly transferring it all over to Bitcoin proxies, like ETFs, and I actually own a lot of MicroStrategy now because I just like, that it's protected like anything else I have in my brokerage account. You know, it's protected by SPIG or SPIC insurance. So yeah, I have a lot of MicroStrategy now and a lot of Bitcoin ETFs. And I've been slowly but surely transferring over my Bitcoin to those ways of investing in Bitcoin. I'm not messing around with anything that's not government backed anymore. I'm just not. I learned my lesson. Glad we did back from the bankruptcy situation. I'm going to CKB, Bitcoin basically. Yeah, it makes sense. Definitely diversifying. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping we get an Ethereum ETF soon so I can put some in Ethereum, but yeah. Yeah, I love me some Michael Saylor, man. Yeah, I really like MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy is also a good one for covered calls, by the way. If you like writing covered calls, you want to generate some income. Am I traveling with one suitcase from the cruise? Yeah, I'm still one suitcase. I have my level 8, which I love. There's a link to it. It's super affordable. I have the big version too. I got from my mom. The thing that makes that carry-on or the suitcase so great is it's got super high quality wheels. So when you're pulling it or pushing it, I don't even pull it in the airport. I just put my hand on the handle and it just glides. It's like you don't even have any weight on there, even though if you know anything about my carry-ons, they're heavy. They're usually like 50 pounds and it just glides to the airport. I love it. The wheels are so good on that thing and it's pretty affordable. So it's like my merino wool here. I don't mind recommending because I use it and they've actually offered me a deal, level 8 has, and I've just said no. I'll just link to it on Amazon, but I do love it. I love that level 8 bag, that level 8 carry-on. The carry-on and the big suitcase. I got to use the big suitcase when I took my mother to Venice. It's the same as my carry-on version of it. It's amazing. So if you need a bigger suitcase, they have a great big suitcase as well. It's like 50 liter. Actually, no, it's more than that. I think my carry-on is 50 liter. It's probably 100 liter at least. Monica says, I lived in Kauai. Thanks for being a channel member for so long too, by the way, Monica. And Rich, who's in here as well. I lived on Kauai in the 70s. What town is the condo you'll be staying in? I think it's the main town. What do they call it? I can't remember. It's whatever the main little town is where that little mall is. I can't remember the name of it. I'm so bad with remembering the names of stuff. As a matter of fact, you do look like Mr. Clean. I do kind of look like Mr. Clean, don't I? I should get sponsored by them. That would be a great sponsor for me. So when I grew up, my mother is shocked by how clean I am now because I was not that. I was the exact opposite of that. I was messy. My room was always messy when I was growing up. And then I went in the military and they kind of beat it into my head. And then when I became a drill sergeant in Navy boot camp where you're like, everything's got to be white glove clean. And I just became next level clean. And I'm like next level clean. That's probably another reason I stay single because I would drive whoever my significant other is insane. she would just hate living with me because I'm like everything has to be like, nothing is not clean. Like it's always clean. The toilet's always clean. If I use the toilet, it gets sprayed with Clorox bleach stuff and wiped down again. Like everything, I would be comfortable eating off anything in this house. Anything in this Airbnb, I would be comfortable eating off of. I promise you it is completely clean. Even the toilet. Like the toilet, I'm not saying I would eat off of it, but someone said, I'll give you $1 million to eat off your toilet. I would 100% for sure. How are you able to carry 50 pounds? So I always travel business class and nobody ever, it's the size that it needs to be. No one ever says anything to me about it. Like I've never had anybody weigh my bag when I've been in business class. They just don't. To be honest with you, I've only had my bag weighed once, and it was on an airline in Vietnam. It was, I think, Vietjet Air. It's the only time I've ever had my bag weighed. It was a long time ago, like in 2019. I've never had my bag weighed, even when I'm not flying. But when you're flying business class, they just don't weigh your bag. They don't weigh your carry-on. If it fits the size parameter, they never have asked me to weigh it. Because they know I paid an arm and a leg for my ticket. With points, though. Some of my contacts in Bali have invested in internet computer crypto. Ever been to Bali? I've been to Bali many times. I love it. It's amazing. I've been to Canggu and Ubud. Love both of them. They're not as walkable as where I'm at right now in the Philippines and in Bonifacio Global City, but it's cool, man. Canggu is a surf town, so if you want to be around a bunch of Australians and do a little surfing and be in a beach environment, that's where you go. Ubud is more of like kind of hippy dippy hipster yoga. Everyone's got dreadlocks, and there's a bunch of monkeys walking around in a tropical jungle. That's where you want to go. So Ubud is more of like, if you want to eat vegan and have dreadlocks and do yoga. And Canggu is if you want to hang out with a bunch of Australian surfers and digital nomads. But I love it though. I'm not clowning on it. I'm just telling you what the vibe is in each place. Being an Army Ranger, qualified, definitely shaped my discipline in life. Yeah, I mean, I still get up at, like, people clown me all the time here. Like, I've had a bunch of friends reach out to me, like, hey, come over to this place called Dr. Wine. That's where they like to go. And it's like 8 o'clock, and I'm like, dude, I'm in bed, man. Like, sorry. Just not my, I go to bed early, and I get up right now I'm getting up at a minimum 3 a.m. for the close of the stock market, for the last hour of the stock market. But sometimes I wake up at like 2 a.m. to catch the last 2 hours. And it's people who know me know investing is my hobby, whether it's crypto, whether it's dividends, whether it's companies like Rocket Lab, a little bit more risky, whether it's trading covered calls or cash secured puts. Investing is my hobby. It's my favorite thing to do. It's my favorite hobby. I'm really fortunate that one of my number one hobbies has allowed me to live the life that I live, be able to travel full time and all that stuff. I'm just really lucky that what I really enjoy doing increases my net worth every year. But I love it. I love it. Like, I'd rather get up early when the stock market opens or when the stock market closes, before the stock market closes, than to go to Dr. Wine and drink a beer. I just rather. Every now and again I'll do that, but it's not something I'm into. I like going to bed early and getting up early. I get up, even if I wasn't getting up for the stock market, I'd be getting up at between 4 and 5 a.m. I love going for a walk in the morning when there's nobody around. And maybe it's because I'm getting older now, and that's why that's the life I prefer. When I was younger in the military, I was partying every night. I was going to, the places where all the women are and all that kind of stuff. I was doing that stuff. I always tell people, like a lot of people, the next chapter in their life when they retire, that they go and do that stuff. I was in the military 20 years in the Navy. Like, that's like your life the whole time, because you're like, it's not like being in the Army where you go to places that are out in the middle of nowhere, like Fort Leonard Wood or something like that. In the Navy, you're in beach towns where you're stationed, and when you deploy, you're not going in the middle of Iraq and staying there for a year. I did that with the Army. I deployed with the Army for a year, 82nd Airborne, actually. And in the Navy, even though I'm going in the combat zones, on the way there, I'm going into places like Pattaya, Thailand, like Singapore, like Australia, which is an amazing place for sailors. I'm going to those places. In Europe, I'm going to places like Palma de Mallorca, Spain, the French Riviera, Haifa, Israel, amazing places, Greek islands, and partying it up. And so I did that my whole career, and I'm just like at a point now where that's just not my thing. So yeah. Brenda says we'll visit Kauai in a few weeks on Grand Princess. I love Grand Princess. I spent a lot of time on Grand Princess. I love Grand Princess and I love Island Princess. They're older cruise ships, but they're charming. There's less people. I think Grand Princess has the covered pool, the pool that's in the atrium. I'm almost positive, and I love that. It's either the Island or the Grand, or maybe both of them. But yeah. Hey, Monica, thanks for being a channel member for so long, and Nana on the runs in here. A bunch of my channel members are in here. It's great. It's great staying above 100 people. My last few live streams have been like 50 people. And so this live stream got up to like 150, so it's great. It looks like people are going to be interested in the Philippines, which is awesome. If you missed my apartment tour, go back to the beginning of this video and you can watch my apartment tour. Thanks, love the realistic and actual experience. Sonora is my favorite area in Bali. I haven't been there. I got to try that, Nana. I got to try that place. Solo retirement with Lydia says some women would appreciate all the cleanliness. Probably. My mother appreciates it. When I go home, a lot of times I'll just stay with my mother. Sometimes I'll get an Airbnb, but most of the time I'll just stay with my mother. And she appreciates how clean I am. My mother's kind of a neat freak too. Ever coming back to the United States? One of these days, I'll be in Hawaii in January, and then I'm probably going to go visit my mother afterwards, most likely. So I'll be in the States for a couple of weeks, and then I might start cruising again, but I love it here so much. It depends. I'm here for 4 months. It depends on how I feel about BGC in 4 months, but man, I love this neighborhood. Like, I love it. It's amazing. It's so walkable, and like, so many restaurants, and it's amazing. So safe. Crypto Airborne said, been doing a lot of research on REITs. So I own O. I own a ton of O, by the way. I've been in buying O for a long time. I own a lot of JEPQ. GPIQ, I just started accumulating, and SCHD, I've had it for a long time. I also like QQQI, SPYI, you might want to look at those. GPI, there's another Goldman Sachs one. I think it's for the S&P 500. But yeah, O's good. Also, what is it? Oh, I can't remember the name of it. Main Street Capital is another good monthly. Those are all monthly payers that you listed there, except for SCHD. I love the monthly payers. Like people always say, oh, you're lucky to have your military retirement. I make more off my dividend income than I make off my military retirement. Even though I was an E9, I'm retired E9, which is the highest rank you can get as an enlisted person. I make more off my dividend income. And every month I have a ton of monthly payers like O, JEPQ, GPIQ, SPYI, Main Street Capital. What are some other ones I have? I have a ton of monthly payers now. But most of my dividend portfolio, though, is like classic dividend aristocrats like Johnson & Johnson, Coca-Cola, stuff like that. But I've owned those for decades. Home Depot, companies like that, Lowe's. So don't go out and just buy those monthly payers. They're a little bit more risky. A lot of those he mentioned are covered call ETFs, but it looks like he's got a broad. So there are covered call ETFs that do things differently, like JEPQ does it differently than GPIQ, SPYI and QQI do it a little bit differently. What's the ETF I have? I always forget the name of these dang things. Devo. Devo does it a little bit different, but you're going to have lower yield from that. But yeah, I love the monthly payers like Main Street Capital, Realty Income. Love them. Love them, love them, love them. Every month, man, I'm like, I mean, I paid for this Airbnb with my dividend income. So it's amazing. The first thing I use to pay my monthly bills are the money I make off YouTube. And the second thing I use is dividend income. Most of my military retirement goes straight into investments. I also have a rental property that I own completely. I don't own any money, so it just completely cash flows. That money goes into investments. I still invest more money than I spend, way more actually. I'm still at a 70 to 80% savings rate every single month, even though the only real non-passive income I have is from this YouTube channel. Although it's pretty passive too. Most of it's passive. When did you deploy with 82nd Airborne? I deployed with them May of 2011, 2012. So I was there 2009, 2010. I was with Marine Expeditionary Force first, the second MEF, and then I was still under the Army though. I actually wore an Army uniform, even though I was in the Navy, and I was an E8 at the time. I wore a Navy rank insignia, which confused the hell out of Army guys. They all thought I was like a general because the Navy E8 rank has a big star on top of an anchor, so they all thought I was an officer. They all thought I was like a general or something, and from a distance, that anchor is so big that it looks like it's just a star or something, like I'm a brigadier general or something. So at first I was under 2nd MEF, Marine Expeditionary Force, but then 82nd Airborne came in and replaced the 2nd MEF as in charge of the unit I was in, which was Base Command Group in Al Asad, Iraq. And I was there I want to say I was there 09, 010, but maybe I was there 10 to 11. But I'm pretty sure I was there 09 to 10. Pretty sure I was there 09 to 10. I did back-to-back deployments. I did a Navy deployment, then I did that deployment, and then I did another Navy deployment back-to-back. I was in combat zones for almost 3 straight years, so I always get the dates confused. But I was either there from 09 to 10, or I was there from 10 to 11. But it was Base Command Group on Al Asad Air Base, also known as Camp Cupcake. That's what Marines call it. I don't know if Army people call it that. But yeah, I was with 2nd MEF that was in charge of that AOR, and then they handed it over to the 82nd Airborne. So. But maybe it was, I gotta look at my dates again. It was either 09 to 10 or 10 to 11. 10 to 11, maybe, I don't know. Having spent so much time in the Navy, do you ever get seasick? No. There's nothing a cruise ship can throw at me that'll get me seasick. I was on frigates for most of my career. Frigates and they're called gator freighters. They're flat bottom boats that carry Marines that rock like crazy because they're flat bottom. They're not like, they don't cut through the water. They just sit on the water. So anytime there's waves, it's like, and even though most small ships have fin stabilizers, they still move around a lot. Cruise ships are more like aircraft carriers. They don't move around a lot. even when they move around a lot, it's not a lot for someone that's been on small ships. So. Just found you and watched your Cetus apartment tour in Jomtien. You did a great job. Yeah, man, I'm part of the reason people blame for the Cetus being so expensive now, because that video has like 700,000 views. Like it's probably the most viewed apartment tour video in Jomtien, and it just blew up. That building used to be so much cheaper, and I don't know if it was because of me. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's because all the Russians moved there to avoid going to war. But some people blame me for that building becoming a lot more expensive. What's your best tips for seasickness? Start doing your seasickness treatments about a day or two before you go on a ship. You need, if you're taking seasick stuff after you're seasick, it's too late. Unless you get the shot, which is just going to put you to sleep. So you can go down to medical on a ship and they'll give you a shot, but all that does is put you to sleep. But yeah, start taking your Dramamine or put your patch on a day or two before you go on your cruise. Will you do a walking tour of BGC? Yeah, I'm going to do something like that. Because there's 3 distinct areas. I would say actually 4. There's Uptown BGC, which is what I'm in. Then there's McKinley Hill. And then there's Forbestown. And then I would say High Street is probably its own distinct area too. So I'd say there's like 3 distinct areas in BGC that I've noticed. Maybe someone that knows BGC better can comment on that, but that's my impression. Crypto says you're living the life. Yeah, man, I feel very fortunate, bro. I feel super fortunate to get to live the life that I live. I'm thankful every day. Is there a website you use to transfer or convert points between different points programs when you want to redeem them? Says Swearworks. So I use Chase Sapphire Reserve, so all my points are Chase, which are usually the most valuable points, and I can transfer them between airlines. But normally I spend them in the Chase portal because I get a 50% markup on them. So unless I do the math and it's cheaper for me to use a transfer partner, which I do the math. But yeah, they have a bunch of transfer partners. So sometimes I do that. But yeah, Chase Sapphire Reserve, or if you don't want to pay the big fee, Chase Sapphire Preferred. They only have a 25% markup though on theirs, but still good. But I have a link down below for those where you'll get like, I don't know how many points, like 70,000 points or something, which is like $1,000 in value. But yeah, that's what I use. And there's a ton of videos that, I did a video on the Chase Trifecta, but there are tons of other people that explain that better than me. And it was like years ago, so I would say go and watch other people's videos, like Ask Sebby, S-E-B-B-Y. He has great videos on that stuff. But yeah, but there's a link down below to what I use. Crypto Airborne said, now it's a graveyard. Are you talking about Al Asad? It was a airplane graveyard when I was there. That's what I actually thought that was really cool. So the unit I was in was called Base Command Group, and it was in charge of like the mayoral functions of the base, basically managing the base. Like our commanding officer, who was a 06, was the mayor of the base, basically. And one of my things, it's a huge base. I actually ran the Marine Corps Marathon there. That's how big it is. Marine Corps Marathon does satellite marathons overseas, and they ran one there at Al Asad. And I used to drive the perimeter of that base, and there were so many MiGs out in the middle of the desert there. And then there's this one area where there's like 40 broken down MiGs. It's probably a parts area that the Iraqi military used. But in order to protect their planes, they scattered them all over the desert. And I would just be driving around and run across a MiG. It was crazy. Have you ever thought about keeping a spreadsheet of where you have been? No. One day I tried to count all the places I've been in my life. I mean, I was in the Navy for 20 years, man. I port hopped. I lived in Europe and I was stationed on a ship there. We port hopped. No, I don't. I do have a notes thing that I use for like condo buildings I like or that I want to try. But other than that, no, I don't have it. I probably should, but I don't like administrative work. Is anyone in the chat going to be with Ali and Rob on the Discovery Princess next month? That's awesome, man. I'd love to do that. Are you going to be there, Monica? If I wasn't over here, I would. You know I love Princess Cruises, and you know I love Ali and Rob. Have you ever thought about oh, I already read that one. Eric says, I was medically discharged from the Air Force, but got into civil service 6 years ago. So I'm working towards a pension again so that I can afford to live abroad. Yeah, and a great thing is I think you're going to get VA healthcare. So that's the one great thing about retiring. I have TRICARE for life. And so I don't have to worry about, that's a big barrier for a lot of people is medical costs. And so I don't really have to worry about that. I've never had to worry about that in my life because I've done, I was in the military from 18 on. So I've always had government provided healthcare. So I've never had to worry about it. Castoroy said, went to BGC last night for the first time. Great place. Yeah, I love it here, man. I remember Abraham's Oasis. Yeah, on the base I was on, there's like a famous, base command group, or on Al Assad, there's like this famous oasis on the base. And it's supposedly where Abraham stopped. So it's a special religious place for everybody because it's like Old Testament stuff. So it's like special to Muslims, it's special to Christians, and it's special to Jews. And it's somewhere where Abraham stopped, that he found in the middle of the desert that he was able to get water. And it's on this base, actually. And when we got there, it was like covered in water bottles. And so we did this cleanup effort there. And we basically cleaned up Abraham's Oasis. And it wasn't caused from the Americans there. It was caused from the Iraqi military that was there. The Iraqi military before us, and maybe the one that came after us, because the Iraqi military had control of one part of the base there. Once we took over the country and like a new military got in, whatever. Our friends in the military, but Abraham's Oasis was on their portion of the base, but it got really trashed, and so one day we did this whole like cleanup effort there and like really cleaned it up. And it was pretty cool. They also had a bunch of date trees on there. For those who don't know, Iraq is like the #1 exporter of dates in the world. And they supposedly have the best dates in the world. And before that place got turned into a military base, it was famous for date farming. So there's a bunch of date trees all over the base. And so we used to go and pick dates. And really good dates. So cover calls on Palantir shares. Do you ever let your local calls get exercised? So the problem with letting your calls get exercised is now you're subject to taxes on them as if you sold them. So if you're on short-term capital gains, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's usually better to just pay the difference in the premium and get your shares back, right? Buy to close is what it's called. So usually if I don't want to lose the shares, I'll just buy to close. And you lose money when you do that, but you're losing money when you sell the shares too because you're selling them at a lower price if you wanted to keep those shares. Now, if you have planned on selling those shares anyway, then just let them go. And yeah, you just let them go. You don't want to buy to close. That would be silly. But yeah, normally I don't let them go unless it's something I want to let go, or it's in like an IRA where I'm not going to get taxed. Maybe if I'm in an IRA, I let them go because I think maybe the price is going to fall again. Maybe I'll do that. But if you're in a taxable account, usually I'll just buy to close, pay the difference. I mean, you're going to get a tax deduction for that. So. What do you love so much about Princess? How are they for families? I would say Princess is one of the worst for families. They don't have all the family stuff on board for kids to do. I'd say it's one of the worst. I love it because it's affordable for solos and there aren't a lot of kids on board. The other thing I've noticed as a military vet is VA compensation and claims. So many vets not educated on the process. Yeah, I need to do that. Like when I retired, I was running marathons and I was in really good shape. And I just didn't even schedule my VA appointment. Like somebody at my TAP class did, and I went and I got like something for hearing, but I didn't claim anything. They just looked at my record and said, oh, your hearing sucks, because I'd been on ships all my life and the hearing protection sucked. Like the company that made our hearing protection's getting sued. Like you can go and be a part of a class action and all that stuff. Because I lived on aircraft carriers for the last half of my career. And so my hearing was bad. So that's the only thing they rated me on, which basically gives me a small portion of my military retirement tax free, but I'm not at a high enough rate to get VA compensation by itself. So it's like, I'm thankful that I get a 10% of my retirement tax free. It saves me like $10 or something like that. But yeah, I need to go and like do the whole VA thing, have them look at me and, you know, see if I got any issues. I don't know. I've had cancer a couple times, and I was on one of the aircraft carriers that responded to the nuclear thing in Japan, so maybe it has something to do with that, why I've had cancer twice. Cured both times, so no big deal, but yeah. I've never used VA healthcare. Because I'm retired, I get TRICARE for life, and I get it through Humana, so I just get a private military or a private civilian doctor, which I like. I can pick my doctor. And so I've never, because I always heard VA was bad, I've never even registered with the VA. I need to do that though, because I've heard it's gotten way better. And also like some things are better to go to the VA for than to go to TRICARE for. So, and also if I'm going to be spending a lot of times in the Philippines is the only foreign country that has a VA hospital in it. There's one here in Manila. And so I should probably do that. But I've never, I've been retired almost 10 years now, and I've never used the VA. But I probably should. Monica says, that's what I love about celebrity, not too many kids. Yeah, you can go on Virgin Voyages now, which is free. Yeah, another passive income. Don't ignore it. You can maximize it, $4,000 per month, tax-free for the rest of your life. Yeah, I should look at that, into that. Like Crypto Airborne, I met Crypto Airborne through, we both like to invest in crypto, and we were both like part of this kind of like cult that was involved in Voyager, which was a crypto trading app that went out of business, went bankrupt. And we've gotten most of our money back, but it was still like, it was crappy. But where was I going with that? But what I loved about Voyager was I was creating another source of passive income with my crypto. I love multiple streams of income. You know, I have my military retirement, which you got to go do 20 years to get that, so not everybody can do that. I have that. I have my dividend income. I've been a dividend investor since 1994, so I have a substantial dividend investing account. And then I have my, I used to have 7 rental properties. Now I only have 1, but it's completely paid off. So that's almost passive, almost completely passive. I do have to, do some things every now and again. And then I have my YouTube channel, which is somewhat passive. There are some things that are passive about it, although a majority of it is active income. I got to do things like this to get paid. And then I was building up a passive crypto income source. And I should have known it was too good to be true. And I was already a crypto investor, and I was like, well, this is a way to generate some passive income. So it was just another passive income source for me. And the reason I got into Voyager is because they just had some great passive income options. And maybe they would have lasted a long time, but they made some poor decisions in the way they were investing our assets and loaning them out. And eventually they went out of business. They got bankrupt. So it was a lesson learned for me. Like, number one, if you're going to be involved in something like that, you really have to dig deep and understand that you're not protected by the government. Like right now, I opened up a Robinhood account so I could do my swing for the fences. Even though I still do dividend income investing, right now I'm doing more swing for the fences investing. I'm buying companies like Rocket Lab, which I love. You guys know that. A lot of Palantir over the last couple years. A lot of Rocket Lab over the last year. I'm looking at a company called Ammo, which is ticker symbol POW with another W. But these are very risky, but also could be very lucrative. And I opened up a Robinhood account because my other accounts I wanted a separate account, but I also wanted to benefit from Robinhood Gold, being able to get 1% on putting money into that account. And also their Robinhood Gold gives me 5% right now, because if you put in more than $1,000, they bump it up a little bit. So I'm getting like 6% on the money I put in and I don't invest, but I'm at least getting 1% on the money I put in, regardless of whether I invested or not. And then I'm getting 3% on my Roth IRA, a 3% bump, which is great. But the reason I opened up another account was because every account I have is protected through SIPC insurance up to $500,000, $250,000 in cash and securities. So up to 500,000 securities, or if I have cash in there, 250,000 in cash, 250,000 in securities. So I'm protected. And with a company like Voyager, I just wasn't protected, and I should have mitigated my risk more. And Apple G's in here; he knows a lot. Apple G said, "Oh, yikes, going down the investment road again. Yeah, I need to quit that." Any thoughts about claiming your Social Security benefits? For example, early, regular, or later? I have no idea. I should probably look at that. I mean, I always go on there and get my monthly or my yearly thing that says how much I get if I retire at this age, that age, this age. I still pay into it because I have this YouTube channel which it generates income that I have to pay Social Security taxes on. And so I'm still contributing to Social Security. But I haven't decided what age to take it at. I mean, I'd probably take it as early as I can and just invest it all, because I'd probably be ahead at the end of the time when I would take it later, but get more if I just invested it all. So I don't know, we'll see. I have not done the research because it's not something I have to think about at my age right now. I'm not even 50 yet, so. Crypto says, yeah, I was making $7,000 a month from Voyager. Yeah, Voyager had some great passive income stuff going on. I wish they would have lasted. Do you have any issues from the ones GG? I don't know what that means. Do you have issues from the last one GG? I don't know what that means. buddy of mine recommended Palantir to me. I was going to get into it until I realized my employer does business with them. Yeah, I mean, the reason I got into Palantir was I have a couple Navy SEAL buddies, and I had saw a bunch of stuff online about it, and I just asked them about their experience with it, and they just had, like, they basically said we can't operate without it, and I was like, well, that sounds like something I would buy into. And when I was first investing in them, it was more of a national defense play, but now it's more commercial play. That's where the real growth opportunity is. But it's a really risky stock, and has a real high valuation right now, super high PE, super high cash or sales to sales to price ratio. So I'm not recommending it at all. Need any advice on investing? Listen to Dave Clark, or Clark Howard, not Dave Ramsey. Yeah, on investing, I would say that's true. Although if someone just followed Dave Ramsey for 30 years, they'd come out ahead. But yeah, Clark Howard is good. I mean, I would say the best thing to do, and this isn't investment advice, but like, is just buy BTI, Vanguard's total market income. If you're not passionate about investing like I am, like it's a hobby, and to be honest with you, most people that, even it's their hobby and they do it full time, don't beat the market, don't beat the S&P 500. So buy VU or VTI. VU is the S&P 500 version for Vanguard, and VTI is the total stock market index. Buy those and just don't even pay attention to it. And in 20 years, you'll wake up with a butt ton of money, most likely. I think Dave Ramsey is good for getting your financial house in order. But once you get that in order, you'll graduate on to other things. Like everyone knows like Dave Ramsey changed my life. It's the reason I can do the things I do now. But everyone knows I have credit cards because I leverage credit card points with my normal spend. I never carry any debt. I've been debt-free for over 2 decades now. Even my real estate is completely paid off. But I think, like, once you graduate and start, and you have self-discipline, then you're going to move beyond Dave Ramsey. You're going to move into like Choose FI, something like the Financial Independence Retire Early movement, or maybe, the Millionaire Next Door type of stuff, or things like that. But Clark Howard was probably the first financial person I ever listened to. Dave Ramsey is the one I took action from immediately, but as far as like well-rounded, Clark Howard definitely. Is there a reason you don't self-custody your crypto? I don't care about that. I know there are people that are into the world reasons to custody it, or not your keys, not your crypto. I get it. I 100% get it. And I used to have some stuff on a Razor, and what's the other one I had? I can't remember the name of it. I just don't want to do that anymore. It's not something I need in my life. I've got a safety deposit box full of gold and silver if it comes to that. I just don't want to do that anymore. I don't want the administrative responsibility of that. I don't want the security responsibility of that. After the Voyager fiasco, I'm just transferring. I've been slowly but surely transferring all my crypto over to ETFs and MicroStrategy. So it's protected by the SIPC. So I'm protected financially. I don't care about not your keys, not your crypto. I don't care about it. I don't care about that. It's not security that I need. I get why people do it. I understand that. It's not something I care about. John says, good afternoon from Melbourne, Australia. Would you recommend Malaysia? I like Malaysia, Jakarta, or BGC for a month. BGC, for sure. I love Malaysia, and they're probably walkable areas. It depends on what you're looking for, John. What are you looking for? Are you looking for nightlife? Are you looking for quality of life? It depends on what you're looking for. Malaysia's great. If you don't drink, you'll be fine there. It's not as walkable. It's not as safe. Jakarta, I've only been in very briefly, so I can't comment on that. BGC is just super safe, super clean, and very walkable. So I would say BGC. VTSAX or VTIAX, not financial advice, but look into those. Yeah, those are the ones you would buy if you had a Vanguard account. They're like mutual funds. The index fund version of those are VTI and VOO. And I think they both have the same expense ratio. So it really doesn't matter if you don't want to be in the Vanguard ecosystem because you're in Chase or Charles Schwab or something like that. You can still get those and it'll be low cost. How many hours do you spend per night? And do you notice, how many hours do you sleep per night? Do you notice a big difference when sleeping just 1 hour more? I probably sleep between probably 5 and 8 hours a night. I'm a very light sleeper, so I wake up a lot. I wake up probably 50 times a night. So I've never been like a heavy sleeper. Kevin, have you seen the viral hippo stuff? Yeah, I have. Yeah, especially, I mean, I spent a lot of time in Chiang Mai, Thailand. I have a lot of friends there. So they're posting all kinds, they're going and seeing the baby hippo. And yeah, I've seen all that stuff. I have always been a big opponent of captivity of animals, though. I'd rather see that poor little guy on the Serengeti than living a life of captivity. All right, I'm all caught up. If you have any questions, throw them out there. We still have about 100 people, so I'll stick around a little bit longer, but I'm starting to get hungry. VU is the ETF version, not the index. Oh, yeah, you're right, the ETF version. You're right, the ETF version. Yeah, VU and VTI are the ETF versions of those mutual funds, basically. The VTSAX and the other one, that's the S&P 500. But expense ratios, I think, are very similar. So you'd be very similar if you didn't want to be in the Vanguard ecosystem. Which some people love it. Some people love that Vanguard ecosystem. But yeah, that would always be, not that I'm giving financial advice, but that would always be my, there you go. VTSAX is the same as VTI, VTIX is VXUS, and VTAX is VU. What would be VGT? VGT is like the IT infotech version. What would be the Vanguard mutual fund version? Kevin, I'm terrified of street dogs. In a scenario where a huge angry dog is running at you, basically you got to stand your ground. With Wadi dogs, with those dogs in Thailand, those soy dogs, you got to stand your ground. And they'll usually back down. You always see Thai people, like they always stand their ground. Just stand your ground with them. That's another thing I like about BGC is there's no dogs. There are some cats, but there's no dogs. Am I going back to cruise ship living? Yeah, I'm thinking about going back in late February, early March. I've been planning out a cruise itinerary on Princess. VGT is VITAX, but the mutual fund version has 100,000K minimum. Wow. Okay, yeah, that wouldn't be the one I'd do. Index funds over mutual funds. Yeah, I like the liquidity of index funds. I like the liquidity of ETFs, to be honest with you. Which is why I would never do Vanguard. I have a ton of VU, a ton of VGT, and a ton of VTI. I have a lot of those. A lot of those three. Tens of thousands of dollars in those three. I think one of them I have over $100,000. Actually, well over $100,000 because it's done very well the last couple of years. But yeah, I like them because of the liquidity. Like if I need, it's funny, I never liquidate any of my assets, but liquidity is important to me. Like one of the things I don't do that a lot of Dave Ramsey people do is have emergency fund. I don't have emergency funds. I have access to like something like $200,000 in credit on my credit cards. I think my Chase Sapphire Reserve has 60,000 in credit on it or something. That I can access. Every penny I get goes into my investment account, especially now that I have that Robinhood, because I get 1% on all deposits and I get 5% a month in the high yield account. So just sitting in there, I get 6%. I get 1% at a minimum if I don't invest in everything. So everything goes in there immediately. Actually, that's not true. When I get paid my military retirement and YouTube I get paid at the end of the month. My military retirement, I get the first of the month. And dividends come at all times, but most of my monthly payers pay at the very end of the month or the very beginning of the month. And what I do is I pay my credit card off. I used to pay my credit card off immediately, like the second I charge something to it. But now the way I've been doing it, because I want all my money in that high yield savings, if I'm not investing it, is I just put every penny I have into that. I keep like $500 in my account, my checking account, to like take money out at an ATM. But I put everything but $500 in. After I pay off my credit card, everything I get goes just straight into there. And most of it ends up in investments because I buy stocks almost every single day. I buy some form. And at the beginning of the month, I probably buy a lot more because I just have a lot more cash on hand because I'm getting dividends, I'm getting paid, my military retirement, my rental property, money comes in on the first of the month, and my YouTube income comes in at the last week of every month. So I'm just shoveling that money into there, and that's, sometimes like this month at the very beginning of the month, I bought like 1,000 shares of Rocket Lab, which is like $9,000 right now. Probably pretty dumb of me. I probably should have waited, but so I just pay my credit card off and then everything goes in there. So I don't even have an emergency fund. The way I see it is if I get into a situation where I need cash, I'll just sell up assets. And I know that's not the smartest thing to do because it could be at a terrible time, but it's a risk I'm willing to take to be almost 100% invested. That's just, I'm comfortable with that risk tolerance personally, so. By the way, I don't do anything on margin. I know some people will say, well, do you do anything on margin? Like the other day I activated my margin on Robinhood. I was like, oh my God, they'll give me hundreds of thousands of dollars in margin. I'm like, that's dangerous. Like, no way. I turned it off. Even though the first 1,000 in margin is interest free, I turned that off. But I wanted to see. I was like, well, what do I have? And they just give you whatever you have in your account. And I was like, holy shit, man. That's crazy. In addition to walkability at BGC, do they also have shared scooters? Yeah, they have scooters and bikes that you can do, like the ones where you download the app and you can just do them right there. They have them all over the place. Another thing I love about BGC so far, and I don't know if the rest of Manila is like this, it probably is it's pretty much cashless. I haven't needed cash anywhere. I can just pay on my, hey, Wapry's in the house. What's going on, man? Thanks for being a channel member for so long, buddy. But yeah, there are those scooters and those bikes everywhere, those share bikes. If I had a property worth 700K and I needed 100K to renovate and get it up to renting standard, would I spend it or sell and buy an, ooh. Well, if you've lived in it for 2 years, I don't know if you're married or single, like what would your tax hit be? Like if you lived in it for a couple of years, you get up to 250K tax free. If you're married, up to 500K. If there's no taxes, because like, I'm not giving you financial advice. This is probably very bad advice. I'm not telling you to follow it. But I only have one rental property left now because managing rental properties is a pain in the ass. If I had 7K in value, I would probably just put it in a bunch of REITs, and you'll be, you'll be making you could probably be making somewhere between 30 to 40K a month or a year in income off a REIT without any of the bullshit ass management that you have to deal with. That's what I would do. If you want to be in the rental market or go like, high yield. If you go high yield, man, you could bump that up to 70K. Now it's risky. You'd be buying covered called ETFs and stuff like that. But yeah, man, I don't know if I'd want to deal with the burden of having a rental property. I have one left and a family member's in that, and he's a retired hotel maintenance man, so I never have to worry about maintenance. Every now and again, the washer will break and I'll have to buy a new washer. All I do nowadays is just get on Lowe's website, buy it, have them deliver it, and pick up my old one. And it's so convenient. And it's like a $50 fee to do that. It's so convenient. But I don't have to do anything else because he's been in there for over a decade now, and he fixes everything. So, but yeah, if you want to deal with the administrative costs and it's real estate something you're passionate about, then maybe. But if I wanted to be in real estate, I'd probably just buy a bunch of REITs. I'd diversify across a bunch of REITs, and you'd be able to probably get 35 to 40K a year off 700K. You should consider getting a medical evaluation membership, which basically transports you immediately to your home U.S. address or preferred hospital. It's pretty reasonable, says Joshua Tree. So because I'm booking all Airbnbs with my Chase Sapphire Reserve, I have evacuation insurance covered with them. It's a ton of money. So, and also some emergency medical expense. I've never used it because usually I had a motorcycle wreck. I just paid out of my pocket. It was like $20 for all my treatment that I had when I got in a motorcycle wreck. Treatment overseas is usually really cheap, but I could have claimed it with them. I did get an fender bender in a rental car, and they paid 100% of it. So I've tested it in that way. But yeah, I'm pretty covered by my Chase Sapphire Reserve card. It has some pretty hefty travel insurance on it. And because I'm living in Airbnbs, booking short term, I'm covered with all that. It would be something I would consider though if I wasn't doing that. Is there anything you can't use the credit card for in emergency situations? Like power outage emergencies? I'm not sure, to be honest with you. It's a good question. What do you think about people who swear by the carnivore diet? I think Joe Rogan set this trend. I mean, I have done like Atkins type stuff to lose weight really quick, and it does help you lose weight really quick. But yeah, I think a balance of exercise and nutrition is more of a way to go. Not advice. I'm not a nutritionist or personal trainer or physical therapist, but that's what works for me. All right, guys, I'm all caught up here, and I'm getting starving, and I'm starving. So I think I'm going to go get some food. It's already 11:10 here in the afternoon. Thanks everyone for joining me. Thanks to all the channel members who showed up, all the moderators who showed up, like Apple, Gigi, Going Green Mom, Andrea, all the channel members that are hanging out in here, and everyone else that is a subscriber. I appreciate y'all showing up, and yeah, thanks everyone who jumped in and participated in the chat, and yeah, I'll see you next week.